Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hi, welcome to Side Quests. I am Viktor Devonne, and I'm a burlesque performer and writer. I currently live in Riverside, California, and I run White Elephant Burlesque, which I have for about 14 years. I am also the author of Two Night Stay, which is a murder mystery ghost story series that incorporates flash fiction and found footage media. You can find all of that on weburlesque.com, and you may recognize the voices of your Fun and Games hosts on that podcast too. I'm going to tell you about the first game that took over my life. Now, as a child, I did not have a video game system. My sister Sharon did. She had a Game Boy and a Sega Genesis, which she definitely let me play more than I gave her credit for. But they were definitely not mine. I was into board games such as Clue and Risk and 1313 Dead End Drive and Feudal, which is one I cannot find anyone else that has ever heard of. But for video games, I was relegated to my own collection of those handheld electronic games from Tiger, where like Catwoman had 3 or 4 frames that alternated, and Batman threw batarangs, and Paperboy, which I actually was pretty good at, even though I intentionally threw the papers at the neighbors, which you weren't supposed to do. For Sega, I was attracted to Donald Duck Quackshot, and for Game Boy, it was about Tetris and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Follow the Foot Clan. But then my sister went to college, and I didn't have anything at home, and while I would play things like Road Rage and Mortal Kombat at friends' houses, and eventually GoldenEye and Leisure Suit Larry, which I was too young to play, I didn't have them at home, so I didn't. That was it. That was basically all my window to it until 2000. And 2000, just 2000 was when EA Games released The Sims, and at that point I had a computer that just got to be Windows 95, and I got the game. I think we went to Circuit City or something like that and got the game. I don't remember exactly where I'd heard of it, but it sounded fun. I was spending all my time online as it was, so it didn't matter to me if I was playing a video game, and I was getting more interested, I guess, in that. And so I got the game, and I don't know when I went to bed after that. So I would have been a sophomore, which was a rough year for me. And I was playing this game, and what was really cool about it was that it was world building, which has always been my strong suit. I'm really bad at following through on my writing or my content development, even today. But I have ideas, and I can write a character sheet, and I can tell you all the story, but getting it on paper has always been difficult. And this was an opportunity for me to create characters that I could lose interest with, and that would be okay. Like, they were short-term characters. And this is The Sims 1, so it was a little rough around the edges. It was a little bit more accessible, I think, in terms of screwing around with it, basically. I think The Sims, and I've played it since, they've found a few ways to enhance the gameplay. People get older now. People die a little bit. I think it's a little harder for characters to die. But at the time, I have to say that was a plus, that you could create a house and with a game cheat, because who has the time or the inclination to play it correctly, and create a whole house and just throw a bunch of random assortments, create your 8 characters that looked, however you wanted them to, and then, lock them in a room, take out the doors, put them in a pool, take out the method of getting out, the stairwell, and putting things entirely too close to a fireplace, and just seeing what happened. And I have to say that was oddly fulfilling, in a way that I hope doesn't make me sound like a serial killer. But there was something just funny about it, and something that also led your way to actually investing into these characters in ways that you didn't expect. Like whenever, like it's all fun and games, so to speak, to light a house on fire and kill off your family and get a bunch of tombstones that you can then put in the back of your property, and that's cool. And then the ghosts come, and nowadays the ghosts are a little bit more invasive. Before, they would just wake you up. And that only reason that was annoying was because sometimes these people had to go to sleep and get up in the morning. And if you woke them up, then it was really difficult for them to actually get a rested sleep. But basically, it was fun because also you could just treat it like an aquarium. So I don't know where my patience, came from. I say shortly after saying that I use cheat codes. But I would play hours of just watching characters go about their virtual day, and eventually you got attached to them. If that was what you wanted, and then this was back in the day of when you could download different skins, and that was exciting because you could get them to look like pop culture characters, and I swear my downloads folder was all of these executable files that I just messed with the gameplay because it was not prepared for these kinds of hacks. And I remember feeling so brazen that I found one that actually made them look nude, but it didn't make them look nude, and in fact, since all of the characters were adjusted to have skin tone, whenever you changed their clothes in the game, things would poke out or not quite fit the way they were supposed to, which actually made it a little bit more obscene than if you just had them naked. But it's clear that the game players saw these hacks and were aware of them, because a lot of those hacks were eventually incorporated into the actual game. You can actually walk around more or less naked in the game on purpose. You'll still create other characters who are upset about it, or create shame, which is an interesting aspect. But they saw that was happening, and so they decided to play with it. And yeah, you could try to kill off the NPCs, and it just wouldn't work. The maid would just disappear. The repairman would just disappear. Oh well, you tried. I think now you can do it. I think you can actually do it now. You can actually add them to your family if you know how to do that cheat, which I do. But The Sims was a lot of fun, and it was also a lot of fun to play with people. And since I didn't have these games at home, video games were always a social action for me. So I would go to a friend's house, and this was at the time when we would play something like GoldenEye or something that was like multiplayer. Then that was one thing, but then you had games like I wasn't a Super Mario Brothers person because I just didn't have access to that game system, and so I don't have that kind of connection to it. We were a Sonic family, I guess. But it was always a social thing, and it was always something that was important that you did with other people and you played with. And while you could also go to an arcade, which I did do as a child and as a young adult, it just infrequent. The Sims was an interesting time because someone has to sit at the computer, someone has to have control of the mouse, and someone has to have control of the keyboard, and it's not inherently a group game. And yet, if you are friends with the same kind of screwed up people that want to see how long it takes for someone to drown in their own pool, or for all of these random vases and rugs and ugly art pieces that would just really quickly catch on fire, then that was your evening. And fortunately, I had friends that was fine. And what was really also neat about The Sims was that you could screen cap, and you could there was an in-house camera, more or less, which would capture a portion of the screen, and it became an outside game with friends of mine in high school where we would try to screen cap like the moment, like the ridiculous moments or things that looked funny or things that, try to one up each other, which I guess is sort of eventually happened with the game later, but people do that with video. So they can take the characters and they can, make them do whatever they want. But at the time it was unique and, its own thing. And then there was at one point at the height of my too much time in my hands where I had a Yahoo group back actually when it was a Yahoo club, and it was Yahoo clubs, and it was called Sim Sin because the idea was it was all the ways of playing the game in its proper form. The rules were no hacks or no scripts that you could modify, and try to show the most screwed up ways, like people like on fire, and just to show you being really awful to these digital characters, which again, in hindsight, sounds like a massive red flag. But I take comfort that they were all 2D characters, and I apologize to Mortimer and Bella Goth for all that I did. Oh well. So yeah, that was The Sims. It was important to me in high school, and it's still around, and I did get The Sims 2. It was a very different gameplay. It was confusing to me. I put it away for a while, and then when quarantine hit, because, the world is ending, I thought, hey, EA has a sale on The Sims, like the computer game, and I was like, okay, let's see. And so I got it for like $6 and started dreaming about being a sim again. Then I realized I need to put this away for a little bit, just a little bit. But yeah, that was The Sims. Thanks for listening. Happy gaming.
Hey there, Screen Beans. Have you heard about Screen Snark?
Rachel, this is an ad break. They aren't Screen Beans until they listen to the show.
Fine. Potential Screen Beans. You like movies and TV shows, right?
I mean, who doesn't? Screen Snark is a casual conversation about the movies and television shows that are shaping us as we live our everyday lives.
That's right, Matt. We have a chat with at least one incredible guest every episode, hailing from all walks. We've interviewed chefs,
writers, costumers, musicians,
yoga teachers, comedians, burlesque dancers,
folks in the film and TV industry,
and more.
We'd be delighted for you to join us every other Monday on the Certain POV Podcast Network.
Or wherever you get your podcasts, fresh and tasty off the presses.
What? That's not...
Can I call them Screen Beans now?
Fine.
Screen Beans!
So tune in and we'll see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere.
'Cause you're all Screen Beans now.
She will be mine.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.